Hola, mi nombre es Jorge y mi lengua materna es español. My name is Jorge, but everyone calls me Koki, and I'm Mexican, but I grew up in California in the San Francisco Bay Area. Yeah.
Just an interesting question. Like, why do people call you Cookie? Like, where did
So
the name come from?
it is kind of a weird story. So my grandma, my Ita, she called me that since I was like an infant, and I never questioned it because my whole family calls me that, like everyone that's like close to me and stuff. And now I just kind of tell everybody that I meet, like, just call me Koki. Um, I had asked her. I think I asked my mom. I was like, why? I was like, why Koki? And she was like, well, your mom, your Ita says that, and anyone that's named Jorge in Mexico, that's a nickname. I was like, oh, okay. And what happened was later on, as I met different people, I met Jorge's from Mexico, and I would be like, oh, Koki, huh? And it was just a really awkward interaction because I'd say it and they're just like, what? So I basically, to make a long story short, I don't know where it actually comes from. It was given to me and I kind of stuck with it. Funny thing was, I went to Puerto Rico when I was younger, and they have a frog there called the Koki frog. It's spelled differently from my nickname, but you walk around at night and they're all chirping and they're all saying Koki, so it's kind of creepy but cool. Yeah, so that's where Koki comes from.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay. What languages do you speak?
Predominantly English. Bit of Spanish. I was really reluctant as a kid with Spanish because I was really, really shy. And I was put into speech therapy classes to like help me become more social and more comfortable talking to people. And it was funny because I grew up with my parents always speaking Spanish to me, and I could answer back in English. And I assumed that was the dynamic that just would kind of proceed for the rest of my life. And what happened was, as I got older, they were like, I think it was around like when I was in middle school, so I was probably like 12, 13. They started talking about jobs, and they're like, it'd be really good if you were bilingual. And I was like, no, I don't need it. Like, I'm not living in Mexico. I'm not surrounded around people that speak Spanish. It's just you guys. Like, I'll manage. And I didn't see the validity of it for a long time, and I always pushed it off, and it kind of annoyed my parents. And then it wasn't until I think I got a job that they asked me, like, oh, how many languages do you speak? And my parents were like, say that you're bilingual even if you're not that great at being bilingual. And I was like, yeah, I speak Spanish too. Like, oh, solid. And they gave me the job. And I kind of had to learn the hard way because at the job, if someone needed to speak Spanish, they'd get me. And it was kind of one of those moments where, like, fake it till you make it. But once I made it there, I still, like, had to improvise the best way that I could. So it was like a lot of like Spanglish that I was speaking with the customers, and I kind of explained to them, like, sorry, it's not that great. I can understand anything that I'm spoken to in Spanish, but I find it a bit difficult for me to speak it. Yeah, so I mean, it's been a kind of like insecurity. It has gotten better over the years though, because I do make more of an effort now, because I think I'm trying to be more well, not that I'm trying to, I'm more proud of like my culture and the individuality that it gives me, especially when I'm in places like England, because it's a conversation. Yeah.
Okay, so if you were to completely, let's say, lose like being able to speak Spanish, like, what would it mean to you? How would you feel?
It'd be a bit weird. It'd be kind of scary. Because it's like, I feel like it's like a loss of identity, because it's the mother tongue. It's what my mom speaks to me. It's what I hear Spanish and I think of like family. It's loss of identity. It'd be a bit jarring to find out, and it's kind of like bittersweet, but because like since I moved here, it's great that I'm here and like I'm happy, but when I speak to my mom, my Spanish has kind of progressively gotten worse since I've been here, And she says it kind of like endearingly, and she's like, "Oh," she was like, "Mijo, your Spanish, it's not as good as it used to be." I was like, "Oh, thanks, yeah." And occasionally I'll try to like speak Spanish with her, and I'm more open to like being like, "Please correct me if what I'm saying isn't right," which she does. But yeah, no, if I lost this language, it wouldn't be great.
So what do you love about, Spanish? And
What I love about it, people seem to really like it. People seem to enjoy hearing it more than I enjoy speaking it, which is kind of funny. But I mean, it's nice because it's nice knowing a different language, because if you're in certain situations, you can kind of like, if you're in, for example, if you're at a party, or if you're sitting with a group of people that you don't really like get along with, and you're with someone that speaks the same language as you can kind of just like talk to each other and just make small chit chat, and it's kind of nice because there's a sense of belonging there. But Spanish, it is, I guess, yeah, it's a nice language to hear. It's nice to speak. I just really wish that I like made more of an effort to speak it. So whenever I am here and I come across anyone that speaks Spanish, I get really, really excited, and I'm just like, "Tell me about it. Like, where are you from?" And I haven't met anyone from Mexico or anyone from like my background, but like I've met Spanish, I met Guatemalans, and like, so yeah, anytime I see anyone I feel it's like Hispanic or Spanish in any way, or Latino, I really go full force and try to find them, because it's another community. Yeah, it's comforting.
Yeah, because you are in the ACS society, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. It's kind of funny how I got pulled into it. I forgot how it was.
Was it just a friend who was like, "Oh, come join us"?
How was ACS? I think it was with. Oh yeah. I helped a third year last year she was on film. I think Taylor. She did this diversity project, and in the diversity project, it was kind of like made to. It was like a group of us that were chosen. Isaac was in the group, along with Kirsty and a lot of the ACS people. And we went to Exeter University, and we did like a kind of Yeezy formation line and inside the one of the main buildings, and we had numbers attached to us, and it was a public interactive thing where people were given pamphlets, and it was like, okay, so you're given this number, so find the person that has this number, and it was like a questionnaire. So it's like, what ethnicity do you think they are? What do you think they do? What do you think their hobbies are? Stuff like that. And while we were there, I got to know them. I met Isaac, and me and him really got on. And then he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm the president of ACS." And I was like, "Oh, what is that? That sounds cool." And we got along after that. And then since then, they invited me out to a couple instances, like a couple events. Occasionally I'd see them, but it's a bit difficult for me to like keep a constant contact with them, because they're from like a completely different like friend circle for me. So as much as I'd like, and as much as I do enjoy the interactions that I have with them when I'm with them, I don't hang out with them as much as I probably would like to. But yeah, ACS is cool.
Yeah, they have really like strong community, I feel.
They're great. Yeah, no, it's one massive family. So whenever you see them, I recognize everyone, and I'm just like, yeah, it's cool. It's really a strong and comforting dynamic, because you definitely feel welcome no matter like what background you come from. They totally just like let you in and make you one of their own. Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, so yes, how did you learn like Spanish when you were younger? Was it just by talking to your mom, or did you have to learn it in school?
So it was one of the things. I was like raised on Spanish, and I don't know how it is that like we managed to create understanding through just like sound, but my mom would speak to me in Spanish, and I understood through the actions that she would, like physical actions she would take, and after she said something, that I knew like, okay, that's what that means. And so Spanish was, I think, the first thing that I started really picking up on. But then I started going to school, and there was all the English speakers, and I didn't feel I felt a bit like thrown off, because I was like, wait, no one's speaking Spanish here. So I got really shy from that, and that's when I had to go into speech therapy. And then I had like a rewiring in my head where I was like, okay, since I'm in speech therapy, I don't need to learn Spanish at all. But it kind of backfired on me as I got older. Luckily, I kind of learned from my mistakes. But yeah, I learned Spanish from my whole family. We all speak Spanish to one another. And then it's like Spanglish mainly. It's like 90% Spanglish. And then high school, I took Spanish class. But high school, the problem was that learning when you're at home, you learn different, like you learn like certain slang, you learn like regional Spanish. And the Spanish that I was being taught when I was in high school, so when I was like 15, 16, it was like European Spanish. So it threw me off and I didn't really enjoy it because I was like, oh, I know what that means. And I'd write it down or I'd say it and I'd be told that I was wrong. So it kind of frustrated me because I was like, I guess that was where there was like confliction of identity because I was like, okay, is it, what's right and what's wrong here with like the languages? Since then, I just kind of roll with the punches. If someone corrects me on it, I'm like, oh, okay, thanks. But for the most part, I just kind of stick with what I've known since I was a kid. Yeah, I guess that makes me kind of stubborn. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't really have any more questions here now, but let me think of anything you'd like to say? Or?
Yeah, I guess like, because there was a question in there where it talked about if you're not fluent, what are like, was it like a separation between generations or like?
Yeah, is it difficult conversing with the older generation? Do you think there's like kind of a social distance?
Yeah, it's mainly with like my grandparents on my mom's side mainly because both of her parents they are basically just 100% Spanish speakers and growing up I always wanted to like talk to them in Spanish, but I was way too nervous to actually say anything to them. So, and that kind of dynamic stuck through all in the way until now. I do make a bit more of an effort, but like I'll do like quick like spurts of speaking Spanish, and then I'm like, okay, that took a lot of energy, and thought I'm just gonna back off now. But I think those were the times where I was like most kind of frustrated with myself that I didn't take the time to actually learn Spanish properly because there's a lot of lessons and there's stories that you could learn from like your elders and stuff, and it's something that I don't think I got growing up. So there while my siblings who spoke better Spanish than I did, they were able to have these really strong connections with my grandparents. I never felt like I was able to have that opportunity with them. So like going for like further, I guess if I have like kids and family, I'd make more of an emphasis to have them speak both languages from an early age and just make more of a conscious effort to have Spanish and English in their day-to-day. Just so that they don't have to go through what I went through because it creates a lot of inner conflict. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think I'm definitely in a similar situation where, you know, you want to speak to someone in Chinese, but at the same time you're not that great, and you're just like, ugh.
And the thing is, like, you tell like your mom or you tell your parents, whoever's around, and you're like, I want to say this, but I don't want to. Like, I'm gonna get weird about it. Like, the one thing that I always loathed, and I felt bad because I loathed it so much, was having to call them on their birthdays, because I'd have to talk to them in Spanish, and my mom was right there. And my mom, whenever I speak Spanish, she gets all like giddy, and she's like, "Oh my God, you're speaking Spanish." And it like makes me not want to speak it. So I'd have to call them, and like one of my siblings would talk to them for like 10 minutes, and just they'd be laughing and everything, and I'd get the phone, and it's like a quick 30-second like, "Hi, how are you? How's the weather? How are you feeling? Okay, happy birthday." And that was that. And oh my God, it was like the most like annoying thing, because it was like, why do I feel so much like not disdain, but just like why do I not want to do it so much? And it was just because I was like, I want to say it so much, but I can't, so I'd rather not say anything at all.
Because, yeah, they might feel like you're not making the effort, but actually it's just because you can't really express yourself that fluently.
Exactly, yeah. And it's funny thing about all of this, like this whole thing where I'm like, well, I can't speak the language, and that's why I can't create like a good relationship with them. My girlfriend at the time, she was visiting, and my grandparents came to visit at the same time, and she was on visa, so she couldn't work or anything. and she, while all of us were at work, she was left at home with my grandparents, where she doesn't speak any Spanish at all. She knows like 3 words. They don't know any English. So all of my, like me and my family, we kind of like had like a group meeting, and we're like, right, what's gonna happen here? Like, is she gonna like, is this gonna be really bad? Like, are we gonna make her uncomfortable? And we were like, let's just see how it goes. So we leave, and then I come back, or like I come back and my mom's there, and she's like, oh my God, you won't believe what happened. I was like, what? She was like, your girlfriend, she was just like taking care of your grandparents today. I was like, what do you mean? Like, she was like, yeah, she was talking to them. How? And it's like such a testament to like modern technology. She was like, she used Google Translate. She was like, she just got the app, and she would like type stuff into the phone, and she would like press the audio, and they'd hear it, and then they'd respond back. And I was like, really? She was like, yeah, apparently they sat down, they had like a half-hour conversation, and like, aside from that, she would like pantomime like things like, do you want like coffee? Do you want to eat? Something like that. And it was funny because prior to her, another, like a previous partner of mine, she had met my grandparents, and she was a Spanish speaker, and they didn't like her at all. But I think it was because when I tried speaking Spanish to them, she laughed at me because my Spanish was so bad. And like, I remember my grandma, she like looked at her, she gave this like really like sharp look, and she was like, what's so funny? And and my partner at the time, she was like, oh, it's funny hearing him speak Spanish. And my grandma was just like, oh, interesting. And she'd leave, like my grandparents leave, my mom comes into my room, like my partner had left, and my mom comes to my room, and she was like, just so you know, she doesn't get the approval of your grandma.
They don't like her.
Yeah, they're like, they don't like her. I was like, why? And they're like, because she made fun of you. She shouldn't make fun of you. I was like, okay. So it was kind of funny how my current partner at the time, she didn't speak any Spanish, but she managed to just completely have a conversation and converse with them, and they left, and they're like, yeah, we adore her. She's amazing. Yeah. So
just taking the effort and time.
It is taking the effort. Yeah. It's thinking differently, because you kind of like, I feel like with like me and you, when we have these situations, you kind of like, you're hitting this brick wall that you're like, I want to get past this, but I can't. And it's just a matter of changing perspective and looking elsewhere. And yeah, I think to this day, that was probably one of the biggest surprises with my grandparents. That whole interaction they had, it was like a week that happened. And I'd come home, and she was just talking to them. She was having coffee with them, just with the phone, just showing it to them. Yeah, so it was cool.
That's really cool.